Welcome back to the Pit Strategy Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff.
And I'm Matt.
And we are back after a bit of a hiatus due to everything. Life, busy.
We know we said this last time. We're sorry. Things keep happening. It's just
the summer is busy.
It's been a crazy summer, especially for you.
Yes, I have been up to my eyeballs in alligators at work, and it has dang near destroyed me. And so every spare moment has either been working or sleeping, trying to play catch up.
So if you enjoy our very, very in-depth and witty commentary on Formula One and want to sponsor the podcast.
And by sponsor, I mean sponsor us enough that I can quit my day job and do this full time. We would appreciate it. pitstrategypodcast@gmail.com for inquiries. Anyway, let's start things off with the dispatch. Obviously, what was the last race we covered?
We last covered, oh Lord.
Was it Monaco?
Was it Monaco? Because
we previewed Monaco. I don't think we actually.
Oh, geez, it's been that long. Oh no.
Hold up.
We are checking.
It was we covered Imola previewed
yeah.
Monaco. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4. We are 5 races behind.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Summer's been busy. We promise we'll be better.
We actually do have a summer break coming around this time.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we need it. But yeah, we are recording this post British Grand Prix.
Correct, the Monday after.
So we'll that'll be our main talking point this time around.
Correct.
But we do have some news to cover first.
We do, yeah. So starting off with the dispatch, obviously the news that has been on everybody's mind in relation to F1 is Max going to leave Red Bull Racing specifically for the world of Mercedes Petronas AMG Formula One team to come join Darth
the
Toto.
evil empire.
Yeah, to join Darth Toto over there. What are your thoughts? On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely?
I would give it an 8. As a Max Verstappen fan, more than I am a Red Bull fan, I would like to see this happen. I think that at this point, Red Bull just does not deserve Max. They're not. It's almost a Lewis Hamilton situation.
It kind of does feel that way, doesn't
They're
it?
not really doing anything to the car. Checo was right the whole time. They're not changing their freaking car.
Toto's literally still got it printed out.
And he's been
along with a contract.
He's been waving at Max's face. Box Sunday's contract. If you have not seen the Lollipop Man comics and cartoons,
oh my god,
they're amazing.
Yeah, shout out to Lollipop Man on YouTube. Those are freaking hilarious.
Yes, but anyway, there's a lot. You can't take anything that these drivers or principals say to the media at face value.
No.
Even Max himself he's denied it for the longest time, but now his wording is starting to change. People are asking him, like, would you like to stay at Red Bull? He's like, yeah, I'd like to. It's not a no. It's not a yes.
Yeah.
Toto's the one guy that is very confident that Max will join up with him.
Yeah.
Which I think he's doing that to press Christian Horner's buttons.
Yes.
And it seems to be working.
If you can't get Max, you at least play psychological warfare and screw over your opponent.
Exactly. And Christian himself, like, they've asked Christian, do you think Max will leave? And Horner's response is, Max has said that he wants to retire with Red Bull. What kind of answer is that?
Yeah, it's not a yes or a no.
It's not a yes or a no. And yeah, Max has said that, but it's a very weak position to take. Between all of that, the fact that I think it was Sky Sports Italy, which was the same media outlet that first revealed that Lewis was going to Ferrari last year, they are confirming. I'm pretty sure they're confirming, or at least are the first to come out and say that Max wants to join Mercedes.
Yeah.
So you have that to go off of. And then, then you have George Russell taking Mercedes F1 off of his Instagram bio.
Mm-hmm. And a reminder for our listeners, George does not have a contract confirmed for next year.
Yeah. All it says is Formula One driver now on his bio. So all of these things combined kind of snowball into me really believing that this could happen.
You know who's surprisingly quiet about this?
Who?
Jos Verstappen. Usually he's bickering in the media. I guarantee you, if this was happening under the radar, the first thing I would do if I was Toto and trying to keep this hush hush would be to sign Yas to an NDA of you shut your dang mouth.
You know what? That's smart.
Yas is being very mum's the word on this whole thing, which has me believing that somebody is at least probing and asking those questions.
And that lines up with the power struggle that's been going on between Yas and Christian / Helmet over there.
Correct.
And I'm pretty sure he's tired of it too.
Yep.
So
well, and you also can't deny, feelings about Max, feelings about Red Bull aside, smart people are not hanging around at Red Bull. Adrian Newey has gone to Aston Martin. Jonathan Wheatley has left to go to Sauber, soon to be Audi. Lots of people have, jumped ship over there. It's, you lost Checo of all people, So all of these things just lead me to believe that Max is a smart guy. Max is going to be looking at his cards going, I can either stay with this, ship that it's not sinking yet, but it's not exactly,
it's not riding the waves.
It's not riding the waves. It's not full steam ahead. Maybe the grass is greener, or at least more silver on the on the Mercedes side.
Yeah. Max is a very loyal guy. You can tell that he really does want to stick with Red Bull, but I think he is also reading the writing on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, you also got to remember he's older. He's got a kid now, and he understands. I feel like you have to look at it. Is pragmatically the word I'm looking for? Objectively, I don't know. But you got to look at the types like Lewis, Fernando, even Nico Hülkenberg, who just got his first podium. That there is a shelf life to a successful championship capable Formula One driver, and you got to have the best team for your best odds as you get older. And I think Lewis figured that out a little too late.
Yep.
I think Alonso is very much learning that very late. And I think Max is like, I don't want to put all of my eggs in the Red Bull basket.
Sure. Makes sense to me.
It's the only team he's ever known his whole career. So it's like, most drivers do at least 2, if not more, in their career. So it would make sense.
Yeah. Watch Max come over to Mercedes, see the change in culture. That's sure still competitive, but nowhere near as cutthroat as Red Bull, which has the reputation for being the most cutthroat.
Yeah.
As far as their driver academies go, he's just like, oh, this is awesome.
So here's the question then, that in my mind, I want to play it, because we saw this with Lewis. Lewis goes to Ferrari, and his longtime race engineer Bono stays at Mercedes.
Yeah.
Does GP follow Max to Mercedes?
I could see that happening, honestly.
Dude just got a promotion to head of race engineering.
That's a good point.
Dude is high up at RB.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm pretty sure Max will want to drag GP with him.
Question is, will GP do it?
I don't know. I feel like Max has more to lose from them splitting up, because GP be like, man, Max isn't yelling in my ear anymore.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I wonder how Max would work with Bono.
So Bono is Antonelli's race engineer.
He is, yeah. That's fair.
But can you imagine? Like, we've seen Antonelli very much improve under Bono's tutelage. Can you imagine whoever Red Bull brings in after Max, if this were to happen, and they put him under GP?
Get Yuki under GP.
Good grief, that would be insane.
Here's the thing: the only other guy who could probably go toe-to-toe with Max in a shouting competition is Yuki.
That's probably true. Little man got a big voice.
Yes, he does.
Oh, man. So, yeah, we'll keep our finger on the pulse of that one. We'll see what happens. Definitely interested to see where that goes. This is part of our later discussion, but just off the top of your head, if you had to pick a place for Russell to end up, where do you, 10,000-foot view, throw him to stick?
Audi. I can see him
to join
Audi.
Hülkenberg?
Yeah. Be Hülkenberg's teammate, put Bortoletto in a reserve spot.
Okay. I can see that. My guess is also either that or he goes and plays reserve driver over at Cadillac, potentially.
That's a potential spot as well.
Takes a seat over there until a more permanent seat opens up somewhere else in the grid.
Sure. Yeah. Especially with a new team like Cadillac, you want drivers that bring a whole lot of sponsorships
Valtteri has a whole lot of backing. Checo as well. And I know that those two are pretty big contenders.
I could totally be wrong, but
You don't really see a whole lot from George when it comes to sponsorships. I mean, he had that like one power tool commercial where he's like trimming a hedge.
Yeah, and I think him and Lando are both sponsored by Hilton, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's it.
yeah, there's not as much.
Not yet. They haven't been in the sport long enough. Not like your Hamiltons that, drag Monster Energy with you wherever you go.
Right.
That kind of thing. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on it. Other news, James Vowles has... Whoop, dropping my microphone. Don't do that. James Vowles, our favorite team principal, has signed a long-term contract with Williams.
Let's go.
I haven't heard official terms, but most people kind of in that world believe it's at least 3 more years, if not 5.
All right. Let's go, man.
So what that signifies that he is dedicated to seeing that team through whatever future it comes with. I mean, his first full year as team principal with that team has seen him bring in Atlassian as a huge sponsor. That's a big money jump there. He's managed to woo Carlos Sainz over there. We knew this year was going to be a struggle, kind of a rebuilding year, but I think next year is going to be Williams' year.
Honestly, they've had a great year so far.
Oh, yeah.
In stark contrast to the last couple of years, last couple of seasons, it's rebuilding, but it's also progress.
Yeah. I mean, they're P5 in the constructor standing, which is the best Williams has had in like a decade.
Right. Yeah. So you can't sneeze at that. And you'd be crazy to look at these results and go, nah, we don't want more.
Yeah. No, if I was someone in the Williams managerial world, I would be thanking my lucky stars that you got Vowles interested in you and is willing to play ball with you. It's definitely the team to watch for, I think, the next year. At least for me. And I say that not as a Carlos Sainz fan, even though I am. I'm not going to lie. Carlos looks good in blue. I'm just going to say.
He does, yeah.
But no, that car has looked on point this last couple of years. They've still got some technical issues, but they're up there fighting with
They're
everybody
fighting.
else.
They've had some bad luck.
Yes.
Some technical problems with power units and things like that. But when they show up, they do show up.
I saw one, I don't know, commentator is not the right word, but Formula One analyst, I guess, on Blue Sky was kind of talking that, when your team has no money, one of the first things to go out the window is reliability. And Williams has had no money. And so quality and reliability has been one of those things that they've just not ignored, but has not been top priority. Now they've got money. They've got to work back to getting that quality where it needs to be.
Sure.
And that doesn't happen in a season. That's usually a 2 or 3 season turnaround. So
Especially with reg changes coming up, that's going to
throw another little
also
into all that.
Yeah, I think they were like, we're not going to put a whole ton into that this season because we're going to be rebuilding an entire new platform of car for 26. So next year will be the year that I think we're going to see who sunk some money into reliability and durability and who decided to be cheap. Looking at you, Audi Sauber. Anyway, coming out of Jalopnik, the online motorsports outlet, which I frequent quite a bit, was news that out of Bangkok, Thailand, that the Thai government is spending $1.2 billion, billion with a B, to bring the Thai GP to Bangkok.
And that's a street race, right?
That would be a street race. If you will remember at Singapore last year, the Prime Minister of Singapore was invited to the Williams garage and got to spend a lot of time with Alex Albon, who's also Thai.
Yeah.
And that was the kickoff of them beginning to woo Formula One to come to Thailand. Stefano Domenicali was apparently there earlier in the year, meeting with the delegation from the Thai government to get this ball rolling, and it's looking very promising. Apparently, they're working to get the streets where they want the circuit repaved, get them grade 1 FIA certified, all the ducks in a row, with hopes of having Bangkok on the 2028 calendar.
And you have notes here that say that the Vegas Grand Prix cost
$500 million
Yes.
to put together.
What are they doing to those streets?
No,
1.2
well, I mean,
billion.
It's Thailand. I mean, you got to imagine that they probably don't have the top infrastructure like Vegas does, for tourism and all that kind of
Have
stuff.
you been to Vegas? I'm kidding.
Well, Vegas has, for what Vegas is, Vegas has to have a pretty hefty transportation infrastructure
They
for
do.
roads
That's
and
true.
buses and all that kind of stuff.
At least for the Strip.
Yeah, Thailand is very much a pedestrian walking type city from what I understand of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Most of the population doesn't even own cars. It's usually is it a tuk-tuk? Something like that.
Not in Bangkok. That's more rural Thailand. You do see tuk-tuks in Bangkok, mostly for tourism
Gotcha.
than anything else. And they do use them as taxis. I'm kind of defeating my own point right now. But there's plenty of regular cars in Bangkok as
Gotcha.
well.
All I have to say is
It's a healthy blend.
Sure. But I think to take a city that's designed that way up to FIA Grade 1 certifications for a street circuit race is going to take some serious influx of money. And 1.2 billion sounds about right. I feel like, we have, I want to say I heard, so we're in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area, and we're getting the Arlington Grand Prix for IndyCar. And I think the city of Arlington, which has a pretty good street infrastructure around where that race is going to be between Cowboy Stadium and all that kind of stuff. We have pretty decent roads, all things considered. It costs the city still like $300 million to get the streets up to racing standards. So that's for a city that's pretty well developed, I would say. A city that maybe is not got a infrastructure like that. 1.2 billion still sounds a bit high, but I don't think it's unrealistic. Just best guess.
Yeah.
I'm not a civil engineer. I don't know. This is just me spitballing.
I'm curious to see what they'll do with that money.
Yeah, we'll see what happens and see what the drivers think of it.
You said 2028 is what they're shooting for?
That's what they're shooting for. I think it's all very dependent on upgrades happening and approvals and all of the things. So
red tape.
All of the red tape. So we'll see what happens. And then rounding out the dispatch, in the ongoing kerfluffle of what is the position of the FIA president, Carlos Sainz Sr. announced that he is dropping out of that endeavor, is not planning on running for it, unfortunately, which makes us very sad. We really liked him. We're curious what caused that to happen because he changed his tune quite quickly. We're not sure if he got paid off, scared off, threatened. If you see Carlos Sainz Sr. on a brand new yacht between now and the end of the year, I think we'll know where that money came from. But we'll see. But you had news on who else is entering the fray.
Yes. So former FIA steward Tim Meyer, according to the BBC, is putting in a presidential bid against MBS. Backstory: this was he was a steward for the Mexican and Brazilian Grand Prix last year, 2024.
He was the one that got dismissed, right?
He was dismissed because he had ties to McLaren and was very outspoken against Max Verstappen in both of these Grand Prix.
Interesting.
Enough to make even Mr. Ben Sulayem say, "You're going too far," and sacked him.
That's really bad.
That's really bad. So, what's your take on all this? Do you think this is an upgrade or a downgrade? Middle of the road?
We were talking about it before we started recording, and I think I agree with your initial assessment here of better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Yeah.
While we don't like MBS by any stretch of the imagination, he's at least predictable.
Yes. And he's pretty... His shortcomings cast a very wide net across the entire sport.
He's also... what's the word I'm looking for? He's easily corruptible from everybody.
Yeah.
He's not like directly tied to like one team or anything like
Exactly.
that. So, a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest.
Right, yeah. Versus Tim Meyer, who is... what are his exact connections to...
He was a former sporting director or something, wasn't he? Before he became a steward?
I think he has family ties.
Maybe that's what it was.
He's the son. Yeah, he's the son of McLaren's former team principal, Teddy Mayer.
Okay.
So, that's straight McLaren ties.
Yeah.
So
Conflict of interest, for
very
sure.
big conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And
which has never stopped the FIA before. But.
No, but we've seen what Tim can do in a steward position.
Sure, you make an FIA president, that just becomes a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got to remember the FIA president also, his reach extends beyond Formula One. Obviously, McLaren is entering the World Endurance Championship. McLaren is in Formula E. They're in IndyCar, which is not FAA, but it's still a prestigious racing series.
Yeah, they have Academy in the feeder series.
Exactly, and all of these things that McLaren now has their hands into, and you start adding a conflict of interest like that at that level, it's not a good look.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm very much against it. I would rather stick with MBS. Never thought I would say that.
Yeah, for real.
Intergalactic levels of jam, but yeah, we're at that point.
Yeah. Gotta say, I'll also, I never thought I would say this. I'll stick with MBS
Yeah,
for now.
for now, time will tell. There's somebody waiting in the wings that we haven't heard from yet. Remember at the beginning of the year,
Susie Wolff.
Susie Wolff.
Uh-huh.
Now again, there's a conflict of interest there with Toto and all of that, but
Yeah, but at least the Wolves are honest.
they seem to be. They seem to be up and above board. I would take that.
They're up front for the most part.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. All right. With that, we'll roll from the dispatch into the debrief, going into the slip and slide that was the British Grand Prix at Silverstone.
Yep.
That was
What a race.
half a race. The first half was mostly under safety car. So let's just take it from the top. What is your initial impressions of that race? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Chaotic for sure. But honestly, the chaotic races are the most fun to watch.
True.
Even if half of it is under safety car, and that part can be boring, the parts that are not under safety car are so much more enjoyable to watch.
Sure.
The seeing strategies go out the window, seeing drivers try really dumb ideas on some of their tire compounds. I'm looking at you, Leclerc. It's not just Leclerc. Russell was also guilty of it. And just the almost gambling aspect of it all.
Yeah.
When it comes to strategy and how teams decide to figure this race out. I really felt for the rookies. I felt so bad for the rookies.
Behrman was the only one to finish.
Yeah, Behrman really put up a fight. His 10th-place grid penalty was a heartbreaker for sure.
Yeah.
But his actual qualifying performance
Dude was on fire.
was crazy. It was so good. Of course, his penalty kind of nullified it, but he made up for it. He was not clean. He caused a little bit of pandemonium.
A little bit.
Even amongst his own teammate. But he still put on a really great performance and showed up every other rookie out there.
Yeah. I mean, you finish a race like that, with your car in one piece, that's a testament to, being able to hold your own.
Sure.
But to do it at a decent position. Because what did he finish? What was his...
We are checking.
Got me there checking. Results. Great Britain.
We are checking.
For the record, since this is my only platform with which to lodge complaints, I don't like the new F1 website or the app.
Yeah, it's.
If anybody from the
so
F1
bad. I'm sorry.
management is listening, stop it. Where'd Oliver Behrman?
P11.
P11, which is not bad.
Not bad at all.
Just outside the points, obviously, but
Yeah.
obviously
Beat his teammate. Yeah.
with that 10th-place grid penalty, adverse conditions as a rookie, that's respectable. You're ahead of Carlos Sainz. You're ahead of Charles Leclerc.
Right.
Come on, that ain't bad.
You beat a Ferrari and a Haas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough said.
That's respect. Respect to that rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely good on him.
Yeah.
Speaking of Haas's, I meant to talk to you about this before we started recording, but what are your thoughts on Liam Lawson chopping across and running into Esteban Ocon? Was that Esteban's fault or was that Liam's fault?
Honestly, that's really difficult because both of these guys are notorious for that sort of a thing.
Yes.
What turn did that happen on again?
Like turn 3 or 4. It is
Yeah.
early.
I would chalk that up more to Liam because it was a dive bomb down the inside, right?
No, they were coming
No?
into the corner and Liam was on the outside, and he cut across to try to block.
Yes.
To try to block Esteban.
But Yuki was on the inside.
Yuki was on the inside,
Yeah,
and Liam
okay, I
couldn't see
remember
him.
now.
So
Yeah,
I understand Liam's position, and Esteban's. He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
But Liam, it was, in my opinion, way too aggressive from Liam that early into that type of corner.
I agree with you.
And the commentators were making it sound like it was Esteban's fault. And I'm just like, no. Like, you watch the onboard, and Liam just, like, haphazardly just be like, full left.
I turn now. Good luck, everybody else.
Exactly. And, yeah, poor Esteban is lucky he managed to continue because,
Yes.
Liam definitely
Yeah,
ate it.
I would chalk that up to racing incident with everything, all the factors that contributed to that. Yuki being that contributing factor. But, I would put the fault more on Liam.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was definitely I don't want to say it was a surprise, but it just seemed overly aggressive from Liam that early. I felt like that was unnecessary.
Just hang on the outside.
Yeah, in that kind of conditions, it's like, get through these first couple laps, get out from under a safety car, get out from, all of the mayhem,
Right.
and then you start picking your battles. But to just, in the middle of the pack, just try to chop off a Haas
Yeah.
didn't seem...
Just establish yourself first and then go racing from there.
But yeah, back to the rookies. Obviously, it was a sad day for quite a few of them. So Antonelli got hit from behind by Hadjar.
Yep.
It was what, lap like 15 or something like that? 15, 20?
That sounds right.
It was the first third of the race for sure. Hadjar, from that hit, ended up putting it into the wall and DNFing, and apparently the damage to Antonelli's rear diffuser was enough to cause him to have to retire the car as well.
Yep.
So those two rookies went out. Bortoletto, he went in for new inters and tried to kind of gun it coming out of the pit lane and decided to do a 360 no scope, and he put his tail into the wall.
Yeah.
Poor guy struggled there. Destroyed his tail there. He ended up having to DNF. And then Franco Colapinto, so was that on the formation lap that he went in to change tires and his car got stuck in gear?
Yeah, because I think he wanted to do the switch to slicks.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah. So he pulled into the pit and they were going to swap his
Oh,
tires.
no. Wait, he was doing a pit lane start anyway.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So, his car just decided to take a sick day.
Yeah, as one does when you're French. And it went on strike.
Yeah, there you go.
And they had to retire him before the race began. So yeah, all the rookies had a rough day, other than Oliver Behrman and Fernando Alonso, of course. But yeah, so a couple teams took a gamble on the start. Like we mentioned, the entire field started on inters, with the exception of it was Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and Lance Stroll.
Yes.
Yeah. They decided to gamble on slicks at the start because sectors 1 and 2 were like, they had a dry line through them. They weren't completely soaked.
Right.
Sector 3, especially the last 2 turns, were apparently
very wet.
Very wet. It was full of water. And didn't particularly work out for George or Charles. However, the window licker himself defied the odds. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. And somehow got it right. Took soft tires to just blast ahead into P7 before the rain hit and he had to switch back to inters. How does that happen?
Like you said, twice a day. Did you see his comments about the cars?
An absolute blankety blank to drive.
Well, no, he said that they asked about the state of the current regs versus what we're going into. And he said, I'd like to see them make it less of a manufacturer science project, just simplify them and, let the drivers racing do the talking, basically. And it's being hailed as the smartest thing he's ever said.
This is coming from the guy who's probably never actually submitted a science project. Yeah. Daddy just bought him one.
So, broken clock, he has been right twice this weekend. So I guess we're not going to see it again.
It's done for the year. Done for the year. Yeah, it was interesting. The guy, I'm not going to lie. I watched the footage. I watched the race. I watched his onboards. Dude showed some racecraft. As weird as that sounds, I am now saying two things I never thought I would say in
know,
an
right?
episode between
said-
MBS and Lance Stroll. What has happened?
You said Lance Stroll and racecraft in the same sentence.
Yeah, I feel dirty. I feel nasty. I feel covered in jam.
Not only that, but he knew when not to race.
He did.
Like when
He showed restraint.
it was the final lap. The only reason Pierre Gasly was able to beat Lance Stroll was on that last DRS zone. He had DRS on Lance,
Right.
And Lance did not fight him on it.
Yeah.
He just let him by. What a world!
What a world. He didn't hit him. He didn't put it in a wall. It's a miracle. Aston Martin mechanics are breathing a sigh of relief. They're enjoying a restful Monday. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like Lance didn't destroy the car, and the factory is 500 meters away from the pit lane. This is the easiest day we've ever had.
We can clock out early and go get some ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. And dodge a very angry Fernando on the way out. Dude was steamed about the tire choices for him, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, all in all, Silverstone, great race. One of the better wet races I've seen. Number 2 behind Sao Paulo last year for me.
Yes. And can we just go ahead and talk about the biggest highlight of that race? Yes, Lando did get his first British Grand Prix win. Congrats to him.
Him, it's his home race.
But Nico Hulkenberg,
Finally.
P3, baby.
P3, long time coming.
15 years in the making.
Man,
Congrats to Nico.
Dude deserved that.
Yes.
I mean, dude put on a masterclass of how you nurse tires, how you have good racecraft, how you don't push it too hard. I mean,
Yeah, he had Lewis biting at the bit behind him, and he held him off.
they held him off. Dude knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And
It just goes to show that he really is a top of the line world class driver who has had horrible luck with the teams that he's been stuck
yes, between being at Sauber and Renault and Haas, you know, he's had a rough hand of cards. Which, by the way, I thought it was great. He gets his first podium with his former teammate Kevin Magnussen hanging out in the Sauber garage. I thought that was great. You know, if anybody was there who can appreciate how hard it has been for Nico to get on that podium, it would be Kevin
For sure.
So I thought it was great that he was there for that. And he got a trophy made of Legos, which is awesome.
He got a Lego trophy. It was adorable when he's sitting in the cool down room. He clearly looks like he doesn't belong. He's sitting a little too stiff. Lando walks in with Nico's helmet. He's like, "What? I was supposed to bring that?"
I've never done this before, kid. No, I think it was awesome. Like, all of the drivers were like super congratulatory to him. Like, Max was like super welcoming about it. All of the drivers and even other team principals were just like, he's deserved this. I didn't know this was a thing. Most of the teams keep champagne in their garages to celebrate if they win.
Yeah.
And obviously Sauber doesn't exactly have a history of that. They don't keep champagne in their garage. When they won, Toto sent one of his engineers over with a couple bottles from Mercedes to Nico.
Yes,
for them
Aston Martin did that as well.
And Aston Martin, yeah, they sent over some congratulatory bottles so that the team could celebrate. I thought that was,
that was
very
beautiful.
good sportsmanship from those teams.
Yeah.
So no, definitely good sportsmanship all around, and congrats to Nico for that win. He's needed that. I think
239 race starts.
that's a lot of race starts.
So many race starts.
You got to applaud the man's patience for sticking in a sport where you're just not getting that ultimate goal, and just to stick with it. There's plenty of other drivers who I don't think would have lasted that long in it. So.
Yeah, huge respect.
Yeah, huge respect for him. So.
First of many, I hope.
I hope so too. And honestly, I think that is the best way to end the Sauber chapter that they're in. To basically say he was able to do it in a piece of junk Sauber. Hopefully,
Nico has scored more points in the past 4 races.
Than Red Bull. All of Red Bull.
Ouch! Somewhere Checo is sitting in a corner with a tequila and laughing.
Is laughing maniacally.
Oh my goodness! But no, I think it's a good way to end the Sauber saga, if you will, and prepare for Audi. I hope
Yeah.
I hope Audi comes in 26 and gives Nico every opportunity to repeat those podiums and hopefully get a win. I would love to see Nico's first, P1 someday.
Heck yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. So, and Bortoletto. I mean, Sauber is not just one man. I would love to see Bortoletto have some more success up
Heck
there.
yeah, sure.
So, more to.
Guy's an F2 champ.
Yep, he deserves it for sure. Anything else for Silverstone?
Not really.
Do we want to talk about Oscar's little penalty?
Oh, yes. I totally
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yes. So, what lap was that on? It was like 25, something like that?
That sounds right.
It was one of the last safety cars,
Roughly.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the last safety cars, it's pouring down rain. Finally kind of lets up a little bit. They bring the safety car in. Oscar's at the front of the pack. He sets the pace for when they return to racing speed. And right before the last two turns, they're coming down that
That last chicane.
approaching where you would pass the pit entry.
Yeah.
He just slams on his brakes and causes one Max Verstappen directly behind him to overshoot him under still yellow flag conditions, because it remains yellow flag until you cross the timing line and you're not allowed to pass under yellow flag conditions. And because of this, Max ended up in front of Oscar, and the steward decided to slap Oscar with a erratic driving penalty, which cost him 10 seconds.
Yes.
So the big question is, was that penalty warranted, and was the penalty inflicted equal to the crime? Was 10 seconds too harsh?
So when you combine footage on boards, broadcast footage, telemetry, to put this in perspective, at the Canadian Grand Prix, George did something kind of sort of similar, but not really, when he brake tested Max.
Right.
Which his brake pressure for George was roughly 30%.
Sure.
Oscar's was double that at about 60, which made it look. George's looked very much like. I mean, we're not going to go into this too much, but it was very clearly just not a dangerous brake test, but he just tried to make Max look like he was overtaking.
Sure.
No penalty one way or the other there, but with Oscar's, his was more of a oh crap moment. Like, I'm going too fast, I need to slow down. Which, when you're the pace setter, can be very dangerous.
Sure. Especially in those conditions.
And if you look at the rear facing on board from Oscar's point of view, Max is pretty far away.
Yeah.
It took him a second to overtake Oscar. All that combined, I do think the penalty was warranted. Apparently, 10 seconds is the penalty amount that's on the books for this sort of infringement.
Correct. Which, for reference, the FIA released new penalty guidelines like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the 10 seconds is the standard under those new guidelines.
Sure. I think it's less of a situational penalty and more of a preventative measure, a way of saying, don't do this.
Right.
And Oscar just happens to be the example for it.
Sure.
Do I think that that's warranted?
I think 10 seconds is too much.
Yeah, I agree.
I
think
would
that
think
needs
that
to be amended.
5 is more appropriate. But it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, especially in those conditions. Like if this had happened under dry conditions, it had been, that level of erratic driving. Okay, a 10-second. But
Yeah.
in the rain with low visibility, maybe you don't see how close you are to the braking zone, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like some leniency there with a 5-second would have been acceptable, and I don't think anybody would have begrudged that too much. But I think the 10-second, it cost Oscar his P1 because of that.
But I get why they made it 10 seconds. They just implemented this new rule.
Sure.
So you have to stand by it.
Sure.
You can't be wishy-washy on this new regulation that you just implemented.
Sure. So I think that's the one that may end up getting amended slightly of, steward's discretion. If adverse conditions exist, the stewards maybe can have leniency for a 5-second instead.
Yeah,
or something
I could
like
see
that.
that, and I'd be okay with that. Oscar,
He was so mad.
Yeah, he was.
I think that him asking for McLaren to use team orders to give him the win back was a bit far.
Just a bit. Just a
It's like,
tad.
bro, just race.
Yeah.
Just
Which
take it
he
on the
didn't.
chin.
He doesn't. How far behind Lando did he finish? It wasn't a ton, was it?
No, because he served it in the pit lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 6 seconds back.
It was 6 seconds, so he managed to start catching up.
Yeah.
But it was enough to definitely dock his P1, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on, see if that comes up again in the future. Obviously, we have a few more races coming up, which are tend to favor the rain.
Sure.
So this may be something that crops up again in the future. Any track where you have a high probability of safety car under wet conditions, this is going to be a problem.
Yep.
So it's something we could have seen at Sao Paulo last year, or any of those. So we'll see what happens with that. But anything else for Silverstone?
No, sir.
All right. So looking forward to the last race of July, we have the Belgian Grand Prix racing at Spa de Francorchamps. That is a mouthful. I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly.
Francorchamps.
Francorchamps.
Oh.
One of the longest tracks on the calendar at just a hair over 7 kilometers, which is 4.352 miles in freedom units. Long race distance means short number of laps. It's only a 44 lapper. And we've been racing here since way back in the day, 1950. Not in its current configuration. It has had, I believe, 3 configurations.
You would know better than I would.
Yeah, I think it's at least 3 configurations, possibly more, depending on the series. But I think for Formula One, it's had at least 3. Current lap record is a minute 44.701, set by Checo Perez back in 2024 with Red Bull.
What?
What? The last good Red Bull.
Max is taking that personally.
Yeah. So you'll remember last year, this was the one where George,
The tire whisperer.
the tire whisperer, took those hard tires on a one-stopper for all eternity,
Yep.
won the frickin' race, and came in underweight.
Like by a kilogram or
Something like that. So this was something I did not know until I watched it last year. When the race ends, because the racetrack is so long, when they finish, they don't do a cool down lap.
Right.
They come into the pit lane from the end. So they just enter the pit lane backwards and just come into Parc Ferme.
Yep.
Because of that, they don't get to go pick up the tire marbles on
which adds weight.
And because George had literally run those things basically down to the rims, because those hard tires were done, with no tire marbles, they were severely underweight, and that cost him the win, which is very sad because he pulled off the greatest tire management I have ever seen.
You have to know that every single
strategist, analyst, engineer across the entire grid was taking notes
Absolutely.
on that. Okay, we can't go super hard on tire deck or we're going to be underweight.
Yeah. Lots of notes being taken here. Just we're going to even put in a little extra fuel just to keep ourselves
Yeah, there
safe.
you go.
So all of this, now being known, who's your favorite here and who do you think's most at risk?
Going back to Silverstone, Max put in the qualifying lap of a lifetime
Yeah, he did.
because Red Bull chose a lower downforce setup.
Sure.
If you look at the side-by-side comparisons between Max and Oscar, Max was way slower than Oscar in the turns, but he blew him out of the water in the straights.
Yep.
Belgium, Spa, has a lot more straights. I think that Red Bull is going to be a lot smarter about seeing what race day's weather forecast is going to look like because that really shot them in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really take tomorrow's forecast into their strategy.
Right.
They just cared about qualifying. That's what it looks like to me from the outside looking in. I think they'll be a little bit smarter about that. Maybe Max won't qualify P1. Maybe he'll be P5 or P6. But we know what he can do in the wet with the right setup. I think that he could take it all the way.
What was Max's qualifying
You looking for his qualifying results last year?
Yeah, for Belgium.
I don't think he took pole. I could totally be wrong.
Let's see.
We are
Starting
checking.
grid. Charles took pole.
Charles took pole, but Max was
He had a penalty,
right behind
I
him.
think.
Oh yeah, you're right. Right, right.
He took a power unit or something.
Max had the fastest time, but he had a penalty.
Correct. Checo was P2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max was 0.6 faster than Charles.
Yeah.
So yeah, take that into consideration. Max loves Spa.
Yeah, it's one of his favorites.
It's one of his favorites. He wants it permanently on the calendar. He's not getting that wish, but yeah,
He loves that track. It's very close to his heart. He knows it like the back of his hand.
so yeah, I don't see why even with that tractor of a Red Bull, I think he could do it if he has the right setup and a decent qualifying result.
I agree. I think he's got a good shot at it.
How about you?
Yeah, I think Max stands a pretty good chance. I also think both Mercedes have a really good shot at it. That Mercedes is looking really good this year, especially on a track like Spa, especially if it's going to be cooler. That car just apparently does really, really well in cooler conditions. I don't know what the weather is supposed to be at Belgium next week, but if it is cooler like it was last year, that could definitely help out Mercedes.
Yeah.
I think George and Kimi definitely stand a good chance of at least being on the podium, if not winning it. But the most at risk, going back to, this race can be decided on a one stop if you know how to manage tires. If you have a good tire strategy and you know how to look after your tires, even if you do a two stop or if you know how to manage your tires, you can make this race come to you. And so I think knowing that, the biggest risk is Ferrari, because Ferrari still cannot get tires figured out.
No.
Charles, my man, is suffering. My man is in therapy. My man is...
I don't think therapy's enough for him.
my
at this
man is
point.
broken.
Bro's got to switch to hard drugs or something.
Yeah, I have to believe that dude is going back to Monaco on a Monday and drinking himself senseless while holding Leo and just crying at his piano. Or
He has
something.
an open tab at every bar
in Monaco. Yeah, because dude has no luck at all, unfortunately, with tires, which is really sad. So I think Ferrari and Lewis is not doing a whole lot better. Like, Lewis did decent at Silverstone, but he's been struggling with the same tire problems that Charles has had. It's just a systemic Ferrari issue, I think. And so I don't. I feel like Ferrari. If I could give one piece of advice to Ferrari during the summer break, is sit down with these drivers and come to some sort of agreement about tire strategy, because that seems to be the biggest thorn in their side. They've proven that that new car upgrade that they brought out at Barcelona is doing great if you can get the tires figured out right.
Yep.
And Belgium is one of those ones that you have to have your tires figured out. If you don't have it figured out at Belgium and can come up with a good plan, by the time we come around to Monza, which is, I don't know, Ferrari's temple of speed, if you don't have tires figured out by then, you're done. You're cooked, and the Tifosi will eat you alive.
Yes, they will.
So solve it at Belgium or face the wrath of Ferrari fans around the world when you come back home. So this is just your warning. So with that, who do you think needs to take the biggest step forward at Belgium this week? Who needs to put up and show up?
Ferrari's the easy answer.
But I want to pick a driver that needs to make a statement now. And, the easiest answer, excuse me, is I'm going to say Yuki. Because he's had a lot of ups and downs with that Red Bull. I really want to see him do well and succeed. But he's not putting up very promising results.
Sure.
We know that the second Red Bull seat is cursed. I blame Christian Horner for that.
Cursed and haunted at this point.
For real. Yeah, the ghost of so many second drivers. But yeah, Yuki just needs to find a rhythm where he can stay consistent, qualify decently, and get points. Just just V carb levels of points.
Sure.
Just something to contribute to the team a bit. Because he's either qualifying poorly and pushing up into the points decently, or he's qualifying pretty decently and he's wrecking.
Right.
He just needs to find a rhythm where he can do both pretty decently.
There's nothing wrong with being consistently mid at
Exactly.
this point.
Right. Just show Red Bull that, hey, I can at least keep the car on track and score decent points over and over again.
Yeah.
That's what they need right now as a constructor.
Sure.
Because McLaren's already got the constructors in the bag.
Yep.
At this point, I mean, come on. Red Bull's just got to fight for as much as they can possibly get. Fourth is pretty realistic. Third's optimistic. But at this rate, they might even end up fifth.
Yeah. Can you imagine Red Bull coming in behind all Williams?
That's crazy to think about.
That would be.
But like I said, Nico freaking Hulkenberg has scored more points than Red Bull over the past 4 Grand Prix. So take that however you will. Max is doing his darndest. He, of course, crashed out at Austria last time around. Wasn't his fault, but it still happened. So the second driver needs to step up, and that's Yuki.
Yep, agreed. It's definitely a risk that Red Bull is having to stare down in the face. I mean, sound the alarms, raise the red flags, whatever you got to do at Red Bull to get this back up and running for Yuki. They got to do something.
Launch the kamikazes. No, don't do that.
Yeah, definitely not. No, I'm definitely with you there on Yuki. I also think that there's a big risk for the McLaren boys. There's something about Spa. I mean, it is one of those genuine iconic tracks, like a Monaco, like a Silverstone. That there is a certain amount of prestige of winning at Spa. And when you have 2 hyper-competitive drivers like Oscar and Lando, who are so close in the championship, I mean, they are... Oscar's at 234 and Lando's at 226. I mean, we have less than a first-place points difference separating these two.
Yep.
So you got to understand that they are fighting for every position at this point. It's going to come down to them trading P1s up until Abu Dhabi.
Uh-huh.
So you take that racing competitiveness and throw them into a tight space like Rouge.
Yeah.
And who knows what kind of conditions we're going to be racing in Belgium. And so you have this melting pot of potential papaya disaster, papaya smoothie, and papaya debris all over the Belgian racetrack.
I mean, that's what the British Grand Prix was. Zach said we're going to let them race.
Yeah.
And it almost ended in disaster.
Almost ended in disaster. I mean, we had quite a few close calls. We had Lando's big wreck at Montreal that cost him their racing against Oscar. Yeah. We saw them at Hungary last year come to blows and all that kind of stuff. Like it's becoming a problem with them. I don't know if problem's the right word, but it's becoming an issue where
it's becoming a liability.
It's becoming a liability, and it's clear that they are in a league of their own up front. They have no one to race but themselves most of the time, and so they're taking it out on each other. And there's certain tracks where you can do that and get away with it. Belgium's not really one of them.
Not really. No, it's merciless.
It's very merciless. And then you throw in people like that who are, like you said, Max holds this as one of his favorite tracks. George loves this track.
Yeah.
This is a track where they know it so well, they're going to be more aggressive than usual at Spa. And so it's going to be quite the gunfight out there. And I'm afraid that both McLarens are going to, instead of working together to beat everybody else, they're going to fight each other, and it could end in disaster.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's my big fear.
Yeah.
So I hope Andrea Stella and Zach Brown have a good talking to with their.
Do you see Papaya Rules making a comeback at Spa?
I think so. I think it's going to depend on how qualifying goes. If they're really close to each other, I could see somebody saying something. If they've got a bit of a gap, they may let them race to try to catch up with each other. But if it's a front row lockout or something like that, you better believe somebody needs to say something.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening.
Yeah. All right. So top 5. What's your prediction?
All right, I'm going with my boy Max Verstappen in P1.
Anyway, I'm going to say
I'm going to put Oscar P2. You know what? I could totally see some sort of fiasco happening between the McLaren boys.
Yeah.
And I think Lando's going to be the one that gets the short end of the stick this time.
Yeah.
I'm going to put George Russell P3.
And yeah, I'll go ahead and put Lando P4 because of that.
And Leclerc is one of those guys where he just bounces back.
Yeah.
He's a big sine wave. So I think he'll come back with a vengeance for this one. I can see him in P5.
Okay, that's a respectable. I'm kind of right there with you. I'm gonna put Oscar P1.
Okay.
But I don't expect both McLarens to be up there side by side. So I'm gonna say Oscar P1. I'm gonna say George P2.
Okay.
I think he can pull it off. Max P3, Lando P4. And then I'm gonna say Kimi in P5. I think he can. I think he could. I think that Mercedes has got it. And I'm gonna throw an honorable mention in there. If it's not Kimi, I think it could be Carlos. I think that Williams has the straight line speed.
Yeah. Okay.
And Sainz has the race craft to bring that Williams to Spa and do well with it. If that Williams doesn't die on him, brake fire, engine failure, or something like that. As long as the Williams cooperates.
As long as the hamster in the engine keeps working.
Yep. I think Sainz can bring that to a top 5 finish there. I genuinely think it. Him or Albon, honestly. Both of them could do it. I just think Sainz is the more experienced racer and could do it. So that's my guess. So what's your P10?
My P10. I'm going to put, you know what?
Ooh. So many possibilities.
I'm going to put Isaac Hadjar.
Okay.
In the dry, he does a lot better. He does well. He's not the same rookie that we saw at the beginning of this year.
No, he's not.
His racecraft has improved a ton. I definitely see him as the top V-Carb at this point. My other pick was going to be Fernando Alonso. But, I could either see him doing a lot better than P10 or a lot worse than P10.
Yeah.
So, yeah, more consistently around that area, around that ballpark, yeah, I'm going to go with Hadjar.
I'm going to follow you on the rookie road, and I'm going to say Oliver Behrman.
Okay.
I think he's also shown great form. When he's not hitting teammates and other racers, when he gets some space, the dude has good racecraft.
Sure.
And I think Spa is one of those tracks where, because of its length, I don't see him getting bunched up in a pack like some of them usually do. I think he's going to have some room to maneuver, and I think he's got the skills to do that. Watching his performance in that Ferrari last year when he filled in for Sainz,
oh yeah,
he likes having large, long straights to work around people. That's why he took that Ferrari up as high as he did. Mm-hmm. Spa, while not exactly like Jeddah, it has a lot of long straights like Jeddah does.
It's a similar formula,
similar setup, if you will. And so I think based on what I've seen of Barron, I think he can do really well there, and I think P10 is very likely. Is a very realistic for him, but I think he could go higher than that.
Okay.
So
I like it.
That's my guess. So we will see. We have a week off, weekend off, and then we return there, and then we have Hungary, and then the summer break. Isn't that correct?
Believe so.
So we're approaching that halfway point.
Yep. Next race, Belgium, 25th through 27th of July, and then we have Hungary first weekend of August, and then we have the summer break.
Yep.
Dutch Grand Prix at the end of August.
Yep. End of August, we roll into Zandvoort. Max's home race. So that'll be a fun one. All right. Anything else for Belgium?
No, sir.
All right. So let's roll into the traffic report. Got a couple of good reviews here. So we, as we promised many moons ago in an episode long ago, we dipped our toes into F125, EA's newest addition to the Formula One video game lineup.
Yep.
We came into it with very low expectations, or at least I did. I did not have high hopes for it. But I will say this. I think a lot of the gripes I had with F124 have been fixed in F125.
Yeah. Okay.
But I will say they didn't really add enough to justify spending another $65-$70 for a highly patched version of F124.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I will make the disclaimer that you and I are, for the most part, controller players.
Correct.
Not wheel. And it's very clear to me that F125 is
More so made for a steering wheel.
Sure.
especially when it comes to the physics of the car itself. You can tell that they put a lot more emphasis on higher downforce equals more grip through corners.
Sure.
More grip through corners equals having to, put less throttle into your corner exits. If you put too much in, you're going to spin out. I do enjoy that part of it. As a controller player, that is very difficult.
Sure.
I do like the way the tracks feel.
They feel a lot better
They
to me.
did a great job with the LiDAR scanning
Yes.
of each track. I really appreciate the effort they put into that. Cosmetically, the drivers look so bad.
Yes. Terrible.
I know that's not the point, but the driver models look they look nothing like the real drivers.
No, especially like Oscar. He looks like terrifying.
Oscar is terrifying. They got Lance right somehow.
Somehow.
But for some reason, Oscar's head is squished.
Yes.
Yuki is way too tall.
Yes.
He's like 6 feet tall. He's like
Same height as Max almost.
He's the same height as Max. He's taller than Max, and they do the little Drive to Survive
Yeah.
reveal when you do your career. And Yuki's taller than Max, and it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
So yeah, wasn't a huge fan of that. But as far as the actual driving physics and mechanics goes, I appreciate it. I can tell that it's more for steering wheels and pedals than it is for controllers. At least when you're turning off more assists.
Sure.
Which makes for a better simulator.
Sure.
So I like that. I enjoy it. It's not perfect, but I do think it is a step in the right direction from F124.
I agree. I think if you have never played an F1 game before, F125 is a great step into the world of Formula One racing games, first of all, and then sim racing. Like, it's a great entry into that world. However, if you're coming from, like we were, playing F123 and 24, you just go, oh, this, like every other EA Sports title, suffers from the Madden effect of they just kind of reskinned a lot of things, made some minor patch improvements, and decided to call it a whole new game. And so you feel a little cheated out of your money at the end of the day. But
they really could have just patched this all into F124.
Correct.
They could have.
Yeah, which is free on Xbox Games Pass right now if you're a fan of that. If you're curious, go try it go try F124 for free, and if you really enjoy that, then go spend the money. Otherwise, if you don't like F124, then just don't buy.
Or just wait until F126.
That too. Which also, so EA has bought out Codemasters Studios, which was the main studio that created F124 and 25. It was announced that EA and Codemasters, the license for them to continue making F1 games will not be renewed. So it will be a whole new studio that makes F126.
So that is a coin toss.
It could be anyone. It could be Activision. It could be Ubisoft. Who knows at this point?
Oh, please, God, not.
Yeah, neither of those companies have a good track record with racing games.
Or with games in general.
True, also true. But all that to say is this will probably be the last in the current era of F1 games that are similar. So
Bethesda F1 game when?
don't do that. I don't need the option to romance my pit crew. I don't need that. I don't need an AI controlled Christian Horner sending me text messages. Anyway,
F1 like I don't know, one of the F1 commentators, Ruth Buscom. I've been looking for you.
no, gosh, no.
Got something I'm supposed to deliver.
Oh no, I'm in danger. Okay, so unless you've been living under a rock and haven't watched any F1 TV coverage, or don't own an Apple device,
Or don't use the internet.
You may not have been aware that there's an F1 movie that released this last week.
Yeah.
And we went and saw it
In IMAX.
in IMAX, and it was Wonderful.
Yeah.
You want to give your quick 30-second review?
Okay. Very. No, I wouldn't say very Hollywood, but stereotypically Hollywood.
Yes.
It was clearly a for everybody movie.
Yes.
That was set in the F1 world, which was fine for me.
Sure.
As a not hyper aggressive F1 fan, but a big F1 fan, big enough of an F1 fan to have a podcast about it.
Yeah.
I appreciated everything that they did that actually involved Formula One and racing. They incorporated a lot of the team aspect of like team politics, team strategy meetings. They incorporated the little like 1/8 model Formula One car that goes through the wind tunnel.
Yeah.
They got a lot of that right. Did they get everything right? No. I won't go into too many details, but overall, as a Formula One fan, I appreciated the effort that they made to get as close to the real thing as they could while still making an entertaining movie that was for a general audience.
Sure. Absolutely. So with that being said, the F1 movie is the same writer, producer, director as did Top Gun Maverick. Same production crew. Joseph Kosinski, Jerry Bruckheimer, and all of that. Which has me kind of in this weird crossroads of I am an F1 fan, but I also work in the defense industry. So I have the ability of kind of watching in parallel the realities of both Top Gun Maverick and the F1 film, big fans and working in one and a fan of the other. I watched Top Gun Maverick, and full discretion, I work on a fighter program. So I know fighter jets. I know fighter aircraft. I understand how these things work. I watch Top Gun Maverick, and I go, okay, is this technically possible? Yes. Is this realistic? Absolutely not. This is highly dramatized for an action movie on screen to look good in IMAX, to show off, Tom Cruise's acting chops and all these things. Technically possible? Yes. Not realistic. Right. The same is true of, I think, the F1 movie. Is it technically possible what they do there? Yes. Is it realistic? Absolutely not. Everything that Brad Pitt's character does in that film, half of that stuff would get him a race ban, like, immediately. They hardly mention the FIA at all in that movie, and I'm just like, that's also not realistic.
I will say we did not see MBS.
No, we did not, which is surprising somehow.
Plus for me.
Yes.
I'm so happy.
But all that being said, like, is the F1 film technically possible, what they do there? Yes. Realistic? Not at all. But that's besides the point. You're there to watch a fun, action-filled racing film on par with, like, Ford versus Ferrari, Days of Thunder, Rush, and it's up there with all of those. It is a fun watch. Don't take it too seriously. You'll notice a whole bunch of technical things. They race the entire calendar out of order.
Very out of order. You go from Mexico to Spa.
Yeah, and Vegas up at the front. And so it's just like, what the heck? Yeah. But if you take all of that out of it and just enjoy it for what it is, it's a pretty fantastic film from a technical action standpoint. Dialogue was kind of dumb. I feel like it was written by ChatGPT as far as the dialogue goes. But again, you can look past that because you're not there for the dialogue. Brad Pitt's dialogue, especially with the female race engineer, was just kind of terrible and pandering. To me, the standout acting was Javier Bardem playing the team principal of Apex GP.
Great.
Dude just aced that. Like, dude should be a team principal just the way he just acts. It was great. Definitely the best actor. He deserves an award for that for sure.
Yeah.
But no, definitely, I would call it an 8 out of 10. Definitely worth seeing, especially in IMAX. We saw it in IMAX. Yes. Beautiful. Sounds amazing. Soundtrack is great.
The seats were shaking in all the racing scenes, and it was very well put together.
Whoever the sound engineer was on that, they definitely spent some money and time making sure that it sounded as authentic as possible, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was definitely...
I also give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely worth seeing. Highly recommend. So, from there, we roll out from the traffic report, out of traffic into our own private parking lots, sequestered away from the prying eyes, from the press, our own private paddock, if you will, where one might stumble upon a tinfoil hat party.
It's back, baby.
It's back. All right, let's talk about this. Where in the world is Valtteri Bottas going? we kind of hinted at this before. He's in talks with Alpine. He's rumored to be going to Cadillac. If Max leaves Red Bull, there's a whole Red Bull seat open. Where does a certain Finnish driver end up?
Yeah, I really do see him going to Cadillac. For one thing, if anybody knows just how volatile Red Bull Racing is, it's Bottas.
True.
Like he could just take one look at that and go, ew. Between like he's had a lot of social media like posts that kind of hint towards Cadillac.
Sure.
And honestly, it's just we've talked about this. It's an opportunity to start something new.
Yeah.
And yes, it is an unknown, but the known options between Red Bull and Alpine, I would take the unknown if I was Bottas.
Oh yeah. Well, we talked about this. Like Valtteri has a respect for, decent team principles. He's worked with Toto Wolff, who is, I think, a decent man, a quality leader. He's worked with Fred Vasseur and, the whole crew out at Sauber and all that kind of stuff, who I believe are all decent, good people. And I think he would take, if I was being realistic, I think he would take one look at Alpine and go, I don't want to work with Flavio Briatore.
Yeah.
Like, easily one of the scummiest guys to ever lead an F1 team.
Easily.
Enough to get banned from the sport, and somehow that got overturned.
Weasel his way back in.
Yeah, and just watching the way he's treated all of his drivers, like, why would you want to be the next on Alpine's casualty list?
The next on the guillotine block.
Exactly. And I'm just like, I don't see it. I honestly don't.
Yeah, me neither.
I think if my best guess is if he doesn't stay with Mercedes, he like we were saying, I think he ends up at Cadillac. If he does stay with Mercedes, I think he'll end up at their World Endurance Challenge team, their Le Mans project, their hypercar over there. But otherwise, I don't see him hanging around at Mercedes just being a bench warmer.
Yeah, I don't see that either. You can tell he still wants to drive.
Yeah, no, I agree. We also already talked about Max's potential future, but let's talk about the rumors about Sebastian Vettel potentially coming into Red Bull to replace Helmut Marko.
Yeah, Max himself has endorsed this. I'm endorsing it.
I'm endorsing it, and I don't even like Red Bull.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why you don't like Red Bull is because of the decisions that Helmut Marko makes.
Also a true statement. No, the old guard's got to go.
It's so easy to hate the guy.
It really is. No, it's overdue. I think Christian is finding himself in the same position he was 8-ish years ago, however long ago, whenever they brought Max in. And he's trying to nurse young driver talent up from a junior rank, and he's relying on Helmut Marko to do this. And I don't think Helmut is up to the task. I think he's too old. I think he is
old school.
He is of the era of coaching an up and coming Sebastian Vettel, the Vettel, Hamilton, Alonso era of driver, and that's not where we're at anymore. We need someone younger than Marco to train that, your Kimi Antonelli age range that's coming in. And I think Seb is the best bet that Red Bull has to do that.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, as a 16, 17-year-old kid that's about to you're the next prodigy. You're about to step into an F1 seat with either a Red Bull junior team or somehow a Red Bull seat. Are you going to be more open to the teachings of how old is Seb?
That is a great question.
He's in his late 30s, right? Or older than that?
He's got to be older than that. Let's see.
I feel bad for asking this. You Googling it?
Yeah.
The fact that he is not the first on the Google list is
Sebastian, he's 38.
Okay, yeah. So are you going to be more receptive to the coaching of a 38-year-old man or for a man that is over double that?
How old is Helmut Marko?
Yeah,
82.
he's 82. He's yeah. So I rest my case. The man is just not in touch with modern day racing. I'm sorry, he's just not. So I don't know. I feel like I rest my case when it comes to who would be a better coach for younger drivers, and also who would be more in touch with the culture of younger drivers these days.
Yeah, I'm looking at his racing career. Yeah, I mean, Marco did race in Formula One for like a season and a half. He had no wins. His only real wins of note was winning the 24 hours of Le Mans in 1971.
Man, you look at his F1 career. Okay, we have entries 10, 9 starts.
Yep.
Championships 0, wins 0, podiums 0, points 0. Like, and then you have Seb.
Sebastian Vettel wins 53, 122 podiums, 3,098 career points, 57 pole positions, 38 fastest laps.
And that's with a much more modern Formula One era.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's also generation of racing. So, I mean, Helmut is coming from a 1970s era Grand Prix racing. I mean, obviously we have him to thank for a Max Verstappen. I understand that. We also have him to thank for Sebastian Vettel. Like, I understand that,
And
but it's
Daniel Ricciardo.
and Daniel Ricciardo,
He's had
Carlos
some
Sainz, you know,
He's had some good calls, but the culture that he has cultivated at Red Bull is so cutthroat
Yes.
that it just doesn't give drivers, even really good talented drivers like Ricciardo or Sainz or Albon, the chance to learn from mistakes, to really improve. It's either make it or break it, no second chances.
What is the point of having a junior team where you can learn and grow in if you're just going to get cut at the first sign of weakness? And
Right,
I don't think that's practical.
Yeah.
And again, I think you've got these junior drivers coming up. You've got your Liam Lawsons and that kind of stuff who just don't respect Marco because, I mean, he's this old guard that has been there literally forever. And that has no real experience with them in this current generation of car, much less this new car that's coming out in 26. Like, that is so many generations removed from when Marco was racing and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think there's anybody in the Red Bull garage that is like a middle age range that can speak to that in a way that Marco will understand.
Right.
You've got Christian Horner, who, you know, is obviously not as old as Marco, but he hasn't raced in a long time. But he's more of a businessman. He's not actual racing engineering or anything like that, or a driver talent.
No.
You need somebody who has raced in a car, a Formula One car in the last 10 years, who understands what the current style is, the current tracks are, and what the other teams are doing. Vettel did not end his career with Red Bull. He went to Ferrari. He went to Aston Martin. He's done other teams. He knows how the rest of the grid kind of operates. I think if I was Christian Horner, I would be eager to replace Helmut. Put Marco. Marco doesn't have to leave. You can have both of them in the paddock.
Yeah, just have him in like an ambassador role of some kind.
Driver coach emeritus,
One
whatever
where
you want to call
he
it.
keeps his mouth shut.
Yeah, obviously Red Bull could deal with not having some controversy for a season.
Good luck with that.
You know, some racist comments do not do a team well. So.
But the culture that Marco has cultivated is one that can generate Max Verstappen's.
Yeah.
But you need to have a driver with Max Verstappen potential.
Yeah.
And that is a once in a generation style driver.
Yeah, and there's a busload of bodies of drivers who have been cut because they just weren't, you know, that level of autistic genius that Verstappen was. I mean, we know Sainz, Ricciardo, Gasly, Vettel, you know, all these other Red Bull Academy drivers are freaking good. Mm-hmm. They've won races, but they just weren't the cream of the crop, and you can't keep Max Verstappen in racing forever.
No, you really can't. You just have to, just cultivate make a culture where you have a great championship level team that has great cars, great engineering, and good enough drivers that can get those cars up into the points over and over again.
Yeah.
And go from there. That's how you make a championship winning team. That's how you make championship drivers.
Yeah, and then you have a junior team that feeds into that instead of just churning through them like they're disposable.
Right.
It's
Right.
rough over there. So,
yes.
I definitely am for Vettel coming.
In conclusion, Seb is going to be a great
Seb
replacement.
when.
Yeah. Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. All right. And next up, who is the king of the papayas? If you had a spare $10 bill in your pocket to put on it, who do you think is coming away with the Drivers' Championship trophy at the end of Abu Dhabi?
After everything we've seen so far this season, I'm putting that $10 bill on Oscar.
Same.
He's more consistent. He's more emotionally consistent.
Yes.
I would say Silverstone was the exception to that.
Yes.
He was angry. But overall, we've seen what Lando does when he's under pressure. Even when he's the one applying the pressure, he gets desperate. He makes mistakes.
He gets risky.
Canada, perfect
Yes.
example.
Yes.
What was that dive bomb down the inside? That
Not
made
necessary.
no sense at all. So he doesn't really think things through in those sort of situations, whereas Oscar does. Oscar's way more patient than Lando is.
Yeah.
And that has proven itself time and time again across the season. So unless something really crazy happens, I think if Oscar stays consistent, he can eke out the championship over Lando.
I think so too, especially with the remaining tracks on the calendar. These are, I don't know if I'd say more technical, but they don't favor, or they punish risk takers that don't follow through. You've got your Azerbaijans, your Singapores, Sao Paulo, where, if you get too risky, if you bet on black a little too hard, those tracks are unforgiving. Ask Checo and Charles Leclerc about poor experiences at Baku. That track will eat you up and spit you out and not apologize for it. So I hesitate with Lando because of his. I don't want to call him a hothead because I don't think that's true, but he does let his emotions get the better of him from time to time. Montreal being a great example of this. I just don't see that carrying through this back half of the season well for him.
I agree.
So yeah, I'm definitely with you there on Oscar. I think he's gonna walk away with that Drivers' Championship trophy.
It'll be close.
It will be close.
Those McLarens are both extremely fast, but yeah, I think that Oscar's demeanor will make all the difference.
I agree. And then lastly in this party, rumors floating around the paddock, and I added this note to our show notes back when we were preparing to record for Montreal. And I haven't heard anything else come of it. Haven't heard anything deny it. It was interesting that Vasseur was absent from, was it Austria? He left one of the races. I think it was Austria.
Sounds right, yeah.
There is rumor that Fred Vasseur is being tapped to be replaced at Ferrari by potentially Ferrari's World Endurance Championship boss or someone else, bringing in a new team principal entirely. Most of the other team principals in the paddock have kind of indicated that is not true. However, Vasseur himself has not denied it. Both Ferrari drivers have kind of been very tight-lipped about it. They've been asked in press conferences the last couple of weeks about it, not willing to really talk about it. And Vasseur's absence from Austria was kind of surprising. So there's just some unknowns about the future of who the Ferrari boss is. There's a lot of people who believe that he staked his entire reputation on bringing Hamilton to Ferrari. And with Hamilton not performing, I think, where Ferrari's board expected him to be, that it's Vasseur's neck on the line here for that decision, especially considering who they cut. Sainz was one of the highest point scorers that Ferrari has had in recent years.
Right.
So to cut someone like that for Lewis, who is not performing to that same level, is kind of rough for a team of the prestige level of Ferrari. So I guess the question is, do you think Vasseur is at risk, or do you think he's going to be with Ferrari for a little bit?
Definitely a little bit at risk. Now, financially, his move to bring Lewis over did great things for Ferrari.
And he also brokered the whole HP thing, which
Made the car look absolutely horrendous, but brought in good sponsorship money for them.
Sure.
so that's going to be a mixed bag. Ferrari does love
Good results, though.
Yep.
And
I don't really know if you could blame the principal though, because we still see the engineers making the same mistakes. We still see the Ferrari strategists making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Without before all this pre-Vasseur was still happening. So it almost seems like you need a deep cleaning of the bureaucracy that's deep within Ferrari.
Somewhere in a Sauber garage, Matteo Bonato is laughing.
Exactly. So, I mean, Ferrari WEC has done amazing this year.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So, if Vasseur gets replaced by the Ferrari WEC boss, and there's no change, that's only going to solidify my point.
Sure.
But I mean, I don't know. The only way to find that out is to actually replace Vasseur. And I personally don't want to see that happen. I like Vasseur. I think he's a good principal. I think he's a good guy all around. Yeah, I don't think he's the problem.
I don't think he is either. I think it's Italian politics and just the drama of Formula One as just the target has landed on Vasseur because there's, like you said, there's so much money there. There's Lewis
Sure.
coming in. There's HP sponsorship. There's a lot of money, but being poured into the team, but no increase in results. And I think it just makes for good drama. Makes for a good episode or two of Drive to Survive for
There you
next
go.
year.
yeah,
If nothing else, maybe they could send him to Ferrari's new hypersail racing boat team. Boat. Anyway, anything else for the tinfoil hat party?
no sir, hats are being hung up.
All right, let's do quote of the week first, and then we'll roll into driver versus driver.
All right, what you got?
Mine is from Silverstone. Alonso was asking his racing engineer about the other team's tire strategies, and everyone was telling him, "Oh yeah, the teams did this, and they're ahead of us." And even Lance went on softs for a minute and got ahead. And it seems like all these other teams, or even our own other driver, made the right call. And Alonso just comes on and is like, "It's crazy how you guys never make the right call with me." Very despondent. Very much, I am so done with this team. It was very sad. That man is, I think, going to hold out one more year to see if Adrian Newey can deliver him a rocket ship. If it doesn't, he's out.
Yeah.
He is done being upstaged by Lance Stroll, of all people.
I don't blame the man.
Yep, can't blame him. So, what about you?
All right, mine also comes from Silverstone. I don't remember which day of the weekend this was, but there was a interview amongst the two McLaren boys. They were on the front straight, and Lando was reminiscing, saying, like, "Yeah, this is where I got hit in the face with that the hippity hop from Ricardo," and he's like, "Yeah, I remember that." And Oscar just goes, I can hit you in the face if you want. And it was so great because it's in the same deadpan Oscar way where you just have to think,
Is he serious?
Lando playing that long, or Oscar playing that long game with the psychological warfare. I'm telling you. All right, we ready for some driver versus driver?
let's go.
Let's do it.
Two drivers and or
Principles, you've got the driver hat. I've got an activity to pick out of a hat.
we decide who's better.
All right, driver and or principal number one, Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
Good old Chuck. And number two, Jack Doohan,
Huh.
former Alpine driver.
They are doing the high jump.
Doohan's like 6 foot, isn't he?
Doohan's 6 foot, but he's bulky, man.
He's bulky.
Dude's a
yeah.
brick. Leclerc's pretty lanky.
He's lanky, but yeah. Huh.
My money's gonna go on Leclerc with that one. I think I don't see Doohan
Yeah,
clearing
honestly,
a
yeah,
high
I can see
jump.
that too. I can see
Leclerc's skinniness, for lack of a better word, being
a bit beneficial to him.
1 point to Leclerc.
All right. Who we got next?
Next up, we're checking. We have James Vowles,
Okay.
team principal for Williams. And number 2 is Lance Stroll.
They're playing Jeopardy.
Oh, no.
James.
About 3, it's James. Lance's like, Dad, can I phone a friend? Definitely Vowles. Vowles is smart. Like, you hear that man
is
talk about
super
literally
smart.
anything. Like, the man is just a fountain of knowledge about everything.
The 2 Williams drivers were doing an interview, and they were asking them like Williams trivia, and they asked him like, where was the first Williams Grand Prix win? And they're like, oh, we don't know. So they called James, put him on speaker, and James like, oh yeah, it was a British Grand Prix, 1979 or whatever it was.
Who remembers these things? That's one of the things. Like, there are certain people who are just, they memorize these kinds of stats. Like Alex Jakes on the F1 TV broadcast, especially during the free practices where there's not a whole lot happening. Him and Julian Palmer will just be going back and forth about stats and that kind of stuff. And I understand they probably have a producer feeding them stuff in their ears.
Oh yeah.
But some of them will just bring up a random question that is definitely not on script, and the rate at which Alex Jakes knows the answer and just rapid fires it out there, and they fact check him, and he's right. I'm just like, some of these guys,
That's passion for
that's
you
their
right there.
they are just monsters at trivia, and I think Vowles is one of those people, and it's hilarious to see.
Meanwhile, Lance is like, I'll have dinner for 500, please.
What do you want for dinner, Lance? Jam. All right, one more.
Strawberry, please.
One more. We have back to the team principal game. Toto Wolff.
Okay.
Doth Toto. Going up against Lewis Hamilton.
They're playing Quidditch.
Oh.
Okay, first of all, I see Lewis as a seeker.
Yes.
He's a quick boy. Toto is a bruiser. Toto is
Yes.
definitely a bruiser.
Yes.
Or whatever they're called. Bludger?
Bludger.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Bludger's the tool,
that's
isn't it?
the bat.
Yeah. Something like that.
Beater.
Beater, that's
Yeah.
right. It's been a while since I watched Harry Potter.
Please do not come after me, Potterheads.
Yes.
But
I see Hamilton being, just as a driver, he's more athletic. And his recent Lululemon commercials just make him seem like this epic athlete.
Bro, I was flipping tractor tires. Yeah.
He's a high performance athlete. Athletes sweat.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hamilton on that one, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think it'd be pretty close, but seeing Toto in Potter robes and a broom would be pretty hilarious.
So here's the other thing. Which house would you put Toto in?
Oh, he's Slytherin. Like, don't get me wrong. He has the outward demeanor of a Gryffindor. Very, honest, brutally honest, and overall a good dude. But he is not afraid to be Slytherin levels of conniving.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, definitely Slytherin. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
I already had vowels on here. I screwed up.
Oh, you do. It's at the top.
Yep. All right. So, driver versus driver standings. We have in the lead Yuki Tsunoda with 3 points.
Yuki-san.
And then tied for second, we have James Vowles, Esteban Ocon, Kimi Antonelli, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Ayo Komatsu, and that's it for tied for second. And then tied for third, we have Christian Horner, Zach Brown, Fred Vasseur, Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, Liam Lawson, Nico Hulkenberg, Lance Stroll, and Charles Leclerc, and Gabriel Bortoleto. So quite the run over there.
Quite the spread. Yep.
Kind of funny that we've had Tsunoda at 3. I figured we would have had one.
That's because we've had a lot of food-related questions.
We have had a lot of food-related questions. We need to add to this hat and add some other things into it.
Can you tell we're hungry?
If we're not eating food, we're talking about food.
Yep.
That's what we're good at, among other things. Anyway, so I guess next up, we said we got Belgium, and then we got Hungary, summer break after that. So hopefully we're going to change our recording tempo because life has been complicated. We're going to try to do an episode a month and cover all of the races for that month. So that is Belgium for this month, and then next month we will cover Hungary and Zandvoort and run it out that way throughout the end of the season, and we'll reattack that recording strategy in the next season. But just based on how the rest of this year is shaking up, an episode a month is probably more realistic than trying to cover every single race, especially when there's several back-to-backs. Weekends just get full, man.
There's just been a lot going on, so we apologize for the
inconsistency on that. This new schedule should hopefully change that.
Yes, hopefully my world returns back to normal a little bit. And since we record this at my house with my computer and microphones, it's one of those things that I have to be not overly consumed with work for this to happen. So that's just how this plays out.
Your sacrifice is appreciated.
We do what we can. We do what we can. Anyway, any saved rounds? Anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap it up?
Happy to be back. We had a
really entertaining Grand Prix in England to cover.
On American Independence Day, nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. Let freedom ring, baby.
I claim through my heritage a right to bully the British, and I do. So it's part of it at this point. So,
but yeah, it was a great race. Looking forward to the next one, and we're looking forward to covering it.
Yep. So, definitely like and subscribe on all platforms if you haven't already. We do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Drop us a note if there's anything you want to hear us discuss, cover, research in depth. We will do our best to do so. Or if we don't know it, we'll try to tag in some of our friends of the show who know more than we do.
There's a few.
We have a few of those. You know who you are if you're listening and if you've made it this far. Other than that, I think that wraps up this episode. Thank you all for listening. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Matt.
We'll catch you on the next one after Belgium. Until then, pit strategy complete.